Today, I have the honour of speaking with Tom Flanagan. And Tom is Director of Enterprise and Commercialisation at UCD Research and Innovation and NovaUCD. And today we will chat about converting a great idea into a global business. What does it take? Hi, Tom. How are you doing today?
Very good, Patricia. Thanks very much for inviting me. Appreciate it.
It's wonderful to have you here. Absolutely wonderful. And first question for you today, Tom, is where are you located and what's been keeping you sane over the last few months of lockdown?
So I'm in my home office here in Dublin, and what's keeping me sane, I suppose, is out for lots of walks, and then I've been doing lots of other things as well. A bit of meditation, I should say, a bit of mediation as well on the broadband, and other things like that. Just keeping going.
Like us all, keeping going. So, Tom, you lead NovaUCD. That is the Centre for New Ventures and Entrepreneurs at UCD. And you nurture and support researchers to take high-tech startups to grow and scale globally. Can you please tell our audience about your role and what makes you so passionate about what you do?
Okay, so I'm the director, so I have the great opportunity of having a great team to build out opportunities with either inventors or like researchers that might have a great idea, or students that have a great idea, or with entrepreneurs that come in from outside of UCD that have great ideas. And we have a whole process to develop those ideas, build the teams around them, support them, accelerate them, do different kind of customer discovery programs and so on to help them scale up and then launch them and help them scale beyond that.
Okay, super. So Tom, that's really interesting. Tell me about your pathway that led you, your career pathway that led you to this role.
So I started out as an engineer. I graduated from UCD, and I was involved in product development. I invented a few things early on in my career. I was lucky enough then to have the opportunity to champion them to worldwide deployment, and then gradually moved into marketing, strategic marketing initially, and then sales, and into sales, and then with sales, then on into sales of product and sales of consulting services, and gradually, found myself as the vice president for sales and marketing in a major multinational in the US, and then moved back to Ireland after the dot-com bust, and was involved in a number of startups as well, engaging with them and gradually investing in them, being on the boards and so on, and then found myself launching the first technology transfer office in Dublin, University Dublin, and then in the last 3 years I've moved to UCD to take on Nova, which is very exciting.
Very exciting. And moving on to your title, then I suppose I'd love to be able to discuss, and I'm sure I'm only going to give you a minute, but converting a great idea into a global business. What does it take? I mean, what a title. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about this.
I think what it does is it takes really strong individual or a team. Most great businesses are started out by teams. Now there might be one front person, but it's usually a team of people that get together and have a great idea. And I suppose the first thing is to figure out that you've got a great idea and to test that idea and really test it out with people that will give you strong feedback on it, but can be supportive as well. And then work through understanding, just how to implement that idea, build a team around it, to be able to implement the idea, to be able to create the product or the service, and then test the service or the product with clients, with customers, see willingness to pay, get the investment to be able to grow the business. And then once you've made, you've got the traction where you've got some great customers and so on, then you have the opportunity to kind of scale up from there. And then it's all about execution and having good sales pipeline and a good sales execution plan, a good operations plan, continuing to get further investment to scale and grow the business. So there's quite a lot in it, but it all really starts with the individual or the individuals to start, and it's the passion that they have for it, the persistence that they have, and I think as well the ability to persuade. So you'll find that in the best entrepreneurs is they're very well able to persuade people to do things. And there's a lot of people to be persuaded if you're launching a business.
That's really intriguing. And I'm sure there will be a lot of questions from our audience today. So please Do remember, if you have a question, to submit them via the chat function that you'll find at the bottom of your screens. And already there are a lot of questions coming in for you, Tom. So I'm going to try and work my way through as many of them as possible. First one for you today is, has COVID-19 inspired any business ideas under development that are now at NovaUCD?
There's been a number of businesses that have pivoted and so on. There's some research that is leading on to some new test capability around COVID, and so that's often running the PCR and variations on that. There's also therapeutics that are being looked at, and there's what we're calling a hinge sensor that's a diagnostic as well. So there's a number of different diagnostic capabilities. I think a number of people have looked at ways of pivoting their business to meet the kind of demands of COVID. We have one particular company that's actually doing really well, as you can imagine. And I tell you about the company. TestReach is a company that is in the business of online invigilation, so online exams coordination. And of course, obviously, in this current environment, as everything has moved online, their business is skyrocketing. So lots of opportunity as well as challenge, you know.
I'm sure, and so this COVID success stories. Well, what about, there's some questions coming in for you on other success stories. So what are some of Nova's recent success stories?
So I think, in the last year, the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year was won by Nicola Mitchell. So we're very proud of Nicola. She runs Life Scientific, and she was through Nova recently. And actually in the awards last year as well, we also had Gary Wickham from Magro. And again, he was a finalist in those. I think we've had a number of successes as well in terms of companies that have grown and have scaled and then have been bought or sold. Bianca Med was one that Connor Handley developed and sold it out to ResMed. We've had others, Changing Worlds, bought in by Amdocs, Log Entries bought by Rapid7, sorry, yeah, and there's a number of others like that, you know. So lots of different companies. At the moment, we're very excited about the companies that we have in place. We have Ireland's first quantum computing company, Equal One. We have Supernode, that's with Eddie O'Connor, and Eddie O'Connor from Mainstream. I think he had him on before. He's our $1 billion man. So he got substantial,
very famous, yeah.
Yeah, got some substantial investment, and and then I think as well, Mana Aero with Bobby Healy, is a dynamic company that's providing drone delivery. It's a very exciting area as well. So we have some great companies at the moment, and we're continuing to attract new companies in, which is kind of surprising, really, given the kind of COVID lockdown that we're still attracting. Last year, we attracted in 7 new companies into Nova, and we're open for business from the perspective of supporting the companies. We have most things online, but it's still useful to be able to use the facilities for lab work and things like that are essential services.
So a couple of questions coming in around this, Tom, and it's when is a business ready? But actually there's intriguing questions, because I suppose you're an entrepreneur for a university. So when should a researcher come to you? That's a huge underlying theme in the questions coming in.
Well, I suppose we try to go to the researchers, but we're very welcome for them to come to us as well. We try to find out what it is that they're doing, and it's really important because people can. I had an invention myself in my own career early on, and unless it was the people that were around me had noticed it or recognized it, I might have just passed over it. So it can be important to tell people about your research so that you can find some nuggets in there, and you might not see them, but other people would. I think then so we're open for business anytime with anybody that's got a good idea, and it can either be halfway through a project, or it can be even at the front end of starting a project where you've got a good idea and you want to test the idea with your research project. If that's the case, then we can help you figure out how to develop that idea in a way that would have applications and would have potential for commercialization, or to build a business out of.
Okay, and so there's a couple of questions around that coming in, and I'm trying to merge them as much as possible just in the sake of time. But here's one for you. What does it take to be a good entrepreneur?
To be a good entrepreneur, I think it is about being persuasive. I think it's about being persistent, and it's about being focused, really, and identifying a particular opportunity and then going with it, and making everything focus on the main event there.
Okay, and how do you know that you actually have a good opportunity?
Oh, you test it. You test it in the marketplace. So you test it with clients to see if you can find anybody that'll reach into their pocket and pay for it. That's a great test, and you really need that. You can test it as well with, if you're looking for investment, you can test it with investors as to whether they'll buy into that this will have a return on their investment, that it won't be just sunk money and no return. So there are lots of people out there to test it with. But I think the opportunities for a researcher are to come over to Nova and meet with us, and we have that kind of experience that we can quickly assess an opportunity and then work through the various stages that need to be done to test the actual experimentation of it.
So along those lines, so why do you think some ideas have failed when others haven't? I suppose we're looking at failure. Why do some ideas fail? Some good ideas.
Yeah, so some good ideas fail because they weren't actually good ideas in the first instance. I think, there's times when it might seem like a good idea, but the market could be too small. So there's not enough traction there. There's not enough customers essentially to cover the costs of delivering that idea and making a profit out of it. So therefore, the business won't succeed. The idea can fail as well where, regulation might change, where competition might come along very quickly, where you're up against the big guy that has already got the traction, got the client base and so on, and you're knocking on the door with your Me Too project. You think it's novel, but maybe it's not novel enough. I think it can fail as well as if it's not a complete solution to the problem. People are looking for a full solution. So if you only have a piece of the solution, sometimes it works. The piece of the solution is just what's needed, but you'd want to partner up. You'd want to find ways to participate. So there's a lot of different ways it can fail, actually. And we don't tend to talk about the failures too much, but there's a lot of learning in the failures. And actually, if you look at most of the successful entrepreneurs that we have, it's not their first gig. It's, if you look at Bobby Healy there, it's his fourth venture. So, they've been through other aspects as well. And most people in business, you'll find out that, there's been times in that business where it's been pretty close to failing. And it's kind of the grit, it's the ability to think outside the box, to change solutions, to pivot as you need to, that allows those businesses to succeed when others wouldn't,
Interesting. So kind of passion, perseverance are the key things. And in terms of teams, then obviously that's the kind of team lead. But in terms of teams, then what should people look for in a team?
Matching skills. So I always think about, for any business, you kind of need somebody that will make the product or make the service or deliver the service. You need somebody that'll sell it. And then you need somebody that'll look after the finances. They're the kind of basic things that you need in a business. Now, sometimes an individual can have a number of those skills, but very often not. So you do need to match up with where you feel that you have a deficit. And in the initial teams, you need to start out by building where there's deficits in one another. You need to recognize. So that can be a challenge because you also need to be very persistent. And you need to be passionate. So you need to balance that with kind of a reality check on what strengths you have and what strengths you don't have, and then build a team around that to support you where you don't have those expertise.
Okay. And so a lot of questions coming in for you, Tom, in terms of key areas which have potential for more startups. I suppose, we're thinking, technology, future, you mentioned mana, but key areas for potential for startups.
So the way I like to think about it is that the whole world needs to be reinvented. So start there. And it's kind of the reality if you think about it. You look at climate change and you look at the need for everything to be reimagined and redeveloped. So everything from how we drive to how we fly to how we do everything that's based on fossil fuels. Now, how can we do it in the modern world with sustainable products? If you look at on the computing side, if you look at pervasive computing and you look at quantum computing, if we're able to compute so much faster and so much quicker, you know, what's the future look like? What are all the opportunities that can come out of that? And then, yeah, of course, you have the artificial intelligence and the aspects of that. You know, how can we improve the world, leveraging data and big data and the use of big data. And then robotics, another big area that's going to come down. And then, of course, in the whole life science, I mean, we're seeing now with COVID, you know, the need and the speed at which we've been able to develop those vaccines, you know, but we know that we're in a race, and we know that, you know, you don't stop there, that there'll be other variants and so on that need to be fought against. So there's just huge challenges out there that need to be addressed. And so there's plenty of opportunity, plenty of things to be invented. We haven't done it at all. And of course, what's happening is that the scale and the speed at which we're inventing things is on a ramp up.
And what's next for NovaUCD? You know, you've had a massive expansion, but what's the next? What's your next plans? Give us insight into your next plans for Nova.
Okay, so we've scaled up. We have gone from the building itself. We have, you know, 300 people in there. We've gone to 450 now because we've expanded the space. What we're doing, we've increased the number of spin-outs we're doing. We've increased the consultancy work that's happening, and we've also increased the number of accelerator programs that we have. So we've done a 5G, and we've done an advanced manufacturing one last year. And coming up next, then we're looking at the AgTech. So we are building a new center in the Lions Farm. So UCD has a farm there outside of Selbridge, and we're building a new innovation center there to be able to support AgTech type projects. And we're already starting a program around that. And then also we're about to announce, I'll pre-announce, we're about to announce our joining the consortium of ESA-BIC, so the European Space Agency Business Incubation Consortium it's led by Tyndall. We have Mari in there as well, AIT and Maynooth and ourselves. We're able to support companies that are either moving into the aerospace kind of business, or companies that are taking downstream data from satellites and so on and applying it. So, for example, precision farming and various projects like that. So we have a couple of, you know, and that's just the starting point. We have a couple of other things that we can't announce yet that we're looking forward to.
So exciting, Tom, and unfortunately we are completely out of time, and it's just so exciting to hear all of these new developments for Nova. So exciting, so interdisciplinary, which obviously matches to our passion here in Discovery. So thank you so much, Tom. Sincere apologies to all of those whose questions I didn't get to. I'd just like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to Tom Flanagan for the most fascinating discussion today. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thanks very much, Patricia. I really appreciate it. Great to see so many people as well.
It's fantastic. And thank you everyone for joining in. You can sign up to this series at zoomforthought.ie, where you can also check out our list of upcoming speakers for 2021. Thank you so much again, Tom. And thank you, everyone. Have a brilliant day. And we'll see you all next week on Zoom for Thought. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.